Well, and I think a lot of architects rush to the solution. So they have a client who's got a potential project and they want to rush to a proposal and offer them saying, here's how much it will cost me to do the design. But that may not be where the client's at. To the client at that point, that value of the design is not valuable to them because they're still at I need to know what my options are. I'm not sure what
What I want.
what I want. So what's really valuable to me right now is someone to sit down, even though it's like holding my hand and taking a baby step. The most valuable thing to me now would be talking me through my options. That would be most valuable. I don't want to talk about design because I know I don't have all the answers and I'm not even sure what I want. And I don't trust you to come up with a design for me because how can you come up with a great design for me if I don't really know what I want? I've got an idea, but I've got so many gaps as well. So, you know, it's depending on what stage they're at, depending on what their problems are and what their desires are, and that depends on what they value at that particular point in time, right? And if we've got little services that match, it's like a bus stop, it's like a bus that stops at various bus stops, and each bus stop has its own different problems and issues for the client. And we've got to be able to pick people up. We've almost got to identify and say, well, there's a bus stop over here. So I'm going to stop the bus here. And I'm going to let people get on here. And then up here, there's another bus stop. And I'm going to let some people are ready to get on there. They might not need that first one. They're there. And then there's another bus stop up here. And then there's another bus stop here. They can get on at the first one and ride all the way through. Or they can get on at the second or third bus stop. But most architects only have one service, which is I will design your house or your buildings. And it's the fourth bus stop.
Yes,
right?
that's right.
It's the fourth bus stop, and people are all waiting further back here. And they don't want to jump on at the fourth bus stop because they need to get on the bus earlier.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think that the example that you've just given of these anxieties and actually understanding your options, it's so accurate. It's really just better to assume that that's where people are at, and that they need a little bit more clarity before they want to move into the design talk than to assume that that's not the case. I think in most of the cases, even if it's an experienced client who's already worked with architects before and built something in the past, they will actually have a lot of questions. And do you actually give them an opportunity to voice those questions and actually give yourself a place in which you can be the expert answering those questions? Because that's again the thing, if we get comforted by someone, out of a sudden it's much comfortable to actually trust that person and say, oh yeah, you are the right person to take that design, and now let's take that journey forward, because I've been anxious and you helped me with my anxiety. I've had questions, you answered those questions. Now I trust you. And that's, I guess, where we want to be, in that level of trust with our client.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of maybe providing a more relevant value. Let's say you come to me and you go, right, I want you to give me give me a proposal for some design, and I've got some ideas for my house. Okay. And I go, oh, okay, great. I'll give you a proposal. So I go, okay, here's my proposal. Based on your design ideas, here's roughly what I think it will cost, and these will be my fees type thing. Okay. So that's one. The next architect comes along and goes, oh, you've got some ideas. Okay. Can I make a couple of comments on that? And you go, of course. And you go, right. What I have found is that most people who come to me with ideas have some good ideas, like really good ideas. But if we jump on board those ideas and I take them forward, more than often, we find later on, if we haven't investigated all the options, that once we're in the design process or even in the construction process, we discover that there's an additional need that hadn't been identified, or there's a better way of doing something which the client didn't even realize. And we end up having to make changes Now, the longer we leave it, the longer it takes for us to understand a better way, either better needs or better way of doing it, the longer it takes for us to decide that, the price goes up exponentially. Exponentially. If we're pouring concrete and then we have to change things, mega expensive. So what I suggest is your ideas are probably very good, but are they the best? Because at the moment you have got unlimited options on what you do here. Now you have picked some options. It's I'm going to be blunt to you. You might have picked the fifth best option that you could possibly have, and you might only have half your needs identified, right? So I'm going to suggest that we back up if you want, I'm going to suggest that before I give you a proposal for design and stuff like that, that you allow me to back the truck up a little bit and fully challenge you on what you think you need, and give you some other options. If I think there are some better options to get you the outcome you want, then I want the option to present to you some better options. And once we get to a stage where we not only think we've got the best needs identified and the best options for you for that, once you're 100% certain that you've got it, then I'll give you a proposal for moving forward. Mm-hmm. How does that sound? Now, to some people, they might be, no, I know what I want, and I know best. And, I've done a bit of design. I did first year design until I got kicked out of school for smoking dope. So, I know what I'm, okay. Some very few people will be like that. And if they are, you probably don't want them anyway, mm-hmm. right? So anyone who's reasonable, I think, would go, oh, good idea. How much would it cost for you to review my options and investigate my needs and play devil's advocate on a lot of the stuff I've got here? What would the process be there? And I go, well, here would be the process here. Most people would be idiots not to go, yeah, okay, we'll do that first. Mm-hmm. Right? Because prescription without diagnosis, and if you're just being rushed into doing a proposal, prescription without diagnosis in the medical industry is malpractice.
That's right.
And it should be in design as well, Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, I know a lot of people go, oh, we do that. But you don't do it until you get the design contract. Mm-hmm. And then you go and do it. I'm saying break that step up apart and do it before. And we're talking about value. So I guess this is an example of coming in and being a little more granular than the average architect and finding out where they're at, and then offering some sort of value at that stage that they're at, which is far more relevant and useful and beneficial to you and to them at that point. And wins you a client as well if you get them on board, because the other architect's going to submit their proposal, but now the proposal's irrelevant because the client's going, I'm not ready for proposal now. I'm going to do this other thing with this other architect.
Mm-hmm, that's right. So actually, you have a lot of different suggestions as to how to better organize yourself in a practice as an architect in order to earn more and earn better, but also actually be more present for your clients. And so what you just given us one of the examples, but talk a little bit more about those marketing things that we can do in order to present our value, give something upfront, some advice or a little piece of who we are in order to develop relationships. And here specifically, I wanted to hear maybe about Monkey Fist or some other things that your signature topics, and also in fact names invented by you, which I love. But I think that there are great strategies for attraction of clients and also generating more business.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll talk about the Monkey's Fist then.
Do that.
Yeah. Do you want the Monkey's Fist story, the story behind it?
Yeah, go on.
Because people go, Monkey's Fist, why is it called that? Okay, so there's a book called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by a guy called Harry, forgotten his name. And he tells a story where he was sitting on the dock and he was watching the ships come in, and he noticed that the ships that had docked had these huge ropes called hawsers, and they're coming down from the ship, and they tie around a big bollard, and it locks the ship into the shore. And he thought, I wonder how they're too big to throw, those big, and they're about this size, like these big ropes are, they're really big and heavy. So he said, I wonder how they get them on the shore, because they're too big to throw. So he opened up his lunch, and he thought, I'll eat my sandwiches and I'll watch. And one of the big boats came in that docked, and one of the guys on the deck threw this ball around his head, and it's called a monkey's fist. It's a little metal ball inside a macrame pouch, and it's connected to a thin rope, like a lasso, and then he throws that on shore, and then the longshoreman comes along and picks it up, and then he starts pulling this thin rope through the water, and then what he noticed was it was connected to the big hawser, and so he threw something which was really easy, which is the monkey's fist. He threw that easy with the thin rope, threw that first, but it was connected to the big rope ultimately, and the big rope the hawser was dragged through the water and pulled up. So that's how they did it. So he was a salesman. He was selling door to door, and he was selling coffee. And he thought, okay, so I wonder if I can take this, throw something easy, but is connected to the main thing that I actually want to get onto the shore, or the main thing I want to sell. I wonder if I can do that. And so he thought, okay. So he'd knock on the door, and he'd go knock on the door and go, hello, madam. His conversion rate for selling coffee was something like 4%. And so, 100 knocks on the doors, he'd sell 4 lots of coffee to the house. And he thought, I wonder if I try something. Can I throw something easier? So he changed his approach. He thought he'd throw a monkey's fist. And so he'd knock on the door. Hello, madam. Hey, I'm Harry. I'm your local coffee salesperson. Hey, I'd like to give you a free sample of our finest coffee. Try it for a week. See what you think. If you like it, I'll come back. And she goes, okay, great. Thank you, Frank. Frank Betcher. There you go. Did you write that in?
Yeah, I just found it quickly.
that was quick. Anyway, he comes back in a week's time. Hi, madam, just wanting to know what you thought of the coffee. And if you make your first small purchase, I've got another gift for you. So his conversion rate went from 4% to 40% because he threw a monkey's fist first. So he threw something which was irresistibly easy and valuable, because I guess free coffee compared to no dollars, it's a good differential. And so we go, all right, well, then how could that be applied to architecture? I can't give away coffee, and I can't throw a metal macrame ball at my customer. But what you can do, we talked earlier about what is the currency for clients. What is it that they value? Well, we know that at different stages in their, process of construction, they're going to have different problems. So if I identified the problems and I offer a little solution, let's say they don't understand how their biggest problem is, I don't understand how I'm going to get a permit, or what's required, or maybe what's allowable on the site. I don't understand what's allowable. And that's their biggest number one problem. So that's their biggest question. And then I produce a little document, or a PDF, or a book, or a video that says, hey, if you're wondering the best, what you can do on a site in Wanaka, and what your limitations are from the local council, then I've produced this little video, or this booklet, or this thing that will explain it for you. And so you give that away in return for their name and contact details. So it might be something like, look, enter your email address here and we'll send it to you, or just it could be email me or send me a text saying, video, and I'll send you a link to the video. It's on YouTube, and you can go and watch, and it explains the situation like that. Now, you're trading problem-solving information in return for their name and contact details and permission to send them something.
That's
right?
right.
So once again, it's high value for them. You've produced it once. You don't care. It's, you can send that link to 1 million people. So it's good value for you, it's good value for them, and it gives you the chance then to follow up with anyone who's interested in that topic of how do I maximize my plot of land, if that's the question, right?